Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 28, entitled Puranjana Becomes a Woman in the Next Life, text 20. Prabodhayati mavigyam vyushite shokakarshita vartmaitat grihamediyam virasur apineshyati. Prabodhayati gives good counsel. Ma unto me. Avigyam foolish. Vyushite at the time of my being away. Shoka by aggrievement. Karshita being aggrieved and thus dried up. Vartma path. Etat this. Griha mediam of household responsibilities. Vira Suhu the mother of great heroes. Api although. Neshyati will she be able to execute. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. King Puranjana continued thinking how, when he was in a state of bewilderment, his wife would give him good counsel, and how she would become aggrieved when she was away from home. When he was away from home. Although she was the mother of so many sons and heroes, the king still feared that she would not be able to maintain responsibility of household affairs. Purport. At the time of death, King Puranjana was thinking of his wife, and this is called polluted consciousness. As Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita 15:7, Mamaivam sho jivaluke jiva bhutak sanatana manah shashtanandriyani prakriti stanikarshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entity is, after all, part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit, Krishna. In other words, Krishna's constitutional position and the living entity's constitutional position are the same qualitatively. The only difference is that the living entity is eternally an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Mamaivam sho jivaloke jiva bhutak sanatana. In this material world of conditional life, the fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord, the individual soul, is struggling due to his contaminated mind and consciousness. As part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, a living entity is supposed to think of Krishna. But here we see that King Puranjana, the living entity, is thinking of a woman. Such mental absorption with some sense object brings about the living entity's struggle for existence in this material world. Since King Puranjana is thinking of his wife, his struggle for existence in the material world will not be ended by death. As revealed in the following verses, King Puranjana had to accept the body of a woman in his next life due to his being overly absorbed in thoughts of his wife. Thus, mental absorption in social, political, pseudo-religious, national and communal consciousness is cause for bondage. During one's lifetime, one has to change his activities in order to attain release from bondage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita 3.9. Yagyartat karmanon yatra lokoyan karma bandhanaha. If we do not change our consciousness in this life, whatever we do in the name of social, political, religious, or communal and national welfare will be the cause of our bondage. This means we have to continue in material conditional life. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Manah shashtanindriyani prakriti-sthani karshati. When the mind and senses are engaged in material activities, one has to continue his material existence and struggle to attain happiness. In each and every life, one is engaged in the struggle to become happy. Actually, no one in this material world is happy, but the struggle gives a false sense of happiness. A person must work very hard, and when he attains the result of his hard work, he thinks himself happy. In the material world, people do not know what real happiness is. Sukham atyantikam yat tad buddhigrahyam atindriyam, Bhagavad Gita 6.21. Real happiness must be appreciated by one's transcendental senses. Unless one is purified, the transcendental senses are not manifest. Therefore, to purify the senses, one must take to Krishna consciousness and engage the senses in the service of the Lord. Then there will be real happiness and liberation. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 15.8. Shariram yata vapnoti yatchapyut kramatishvaraha grihitvetani samyati vayar gandhani vashayat. The living entity is in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. If the wind passes over a garden of roses, it will carry the aroma of roses, and if it passes over a filthy place, it will carry the stench of obnoxious things. Similarly, King Puranjana, the living entity, now passes the air of his life over his wife, a woman. Therefore, he has to accept the body of a woman in his next life. The translation of the verse again. King Puranjana continued thinking how, when he was in a state of bewilderment, his wife would give him good counsel, and how she would become aggrieved when he was away from home. Although she was the mother of so many sons and heroes, the king still feared that she would not be able to maintain the responsibility of household affairs. Hare Krishna. So we continue our discussion on how Puranjana, and this character from Narada Muni's story, was greatly bewildered at the time of his death. When he was dying, he was greatly in great anxiety how his wife will continue her life and if she would be able to maintain the big family alone. Although it's explained here, she was the mother of many heroes even. But still, King Puranjana was in great anxiety for her. Yes, the whole story that Narada Muni explains to King Prachini-Barhishat is meant to instruct us how we should avoid material consciousness by any price. Because material consciousness will kill you, as it have been killing us from time immemorial. Yes, we were killed again and again and again, And although everyone in this material world is sentenced to death, yes, can you imagine you're a prisoner and you're sentenced to death? You're miserable, isn't it? But Maya is so powerful, this illusory energy, that people are living happily although they are sentenced to death. And they think that this life is something to enjoy. Of course, this is our nature. We have to enjoy. We cannot avoid it, even if we would want it to. But we don't want to avoid enjoyment. We want to avoid suffering. But little the conditioned soul knows that material enjoyment brings material suffering. These are two faces of the same coin. One cannot go without the other. Yes. Because this is the world of duality. If one is attached to young life, to be young, he will suffer when he will be old. This is simple. And if one is attached to being healthy, he'll suffer when he will become sick. And definitely everyone will become sick. Is there anyone of you who was never sick in his life or her life? Not even one? So everyone fell sick. So if we are attached to our health, we'll suffer when we'll be sick. So if one is attached to honor, he will suffer being dishonored. And we know if someone is glorified, there are many envious people who criticize such a person. Isn't it? Everyone that we know that is famous in this world is heavily criticized also. So, this is the world of duality. One thing cannot go without the other. So if we want to enjoy on the material level, we'll definitely suffer on the material level. One cannot avoid it. So spiritual knowledge is teaching us that we should rise above this mentality of enjoying spirit. Because if we don't, we'll just continue our miserable life. This is the paradox. Everyone wants to enjoy, but lives miserably. And it's explained by Prahlad Maharaj actually. Sukhaya dukkha mokshaya sankalpa iha karmina. Yes, that karmis, those who have material consciousness, sukhaya dukkha mokshaya sankalpa. Their sankalpa or firm determination is sukhaya, that I will achieve happiness, sukha. And dukkha mokshaya, I will be free from all suffering. But sadapnoti khaya dukkham anikhaya sukhavrita. But there are only suffering. They don't achieve what they're striving for so hard, and they achieve the opposite. Isn't it craziness? Yes. They're striving very hard to achieve something, and they achieve directly the opposite. Yes. So this is the position of every living entity in this material world, actually. Yes. Even if you are a lion, you get kicked by a bull or any kind of animal, and they die even by such injuries and so on. And many times they go empty, they couldn't catch the prey, and so they're hungry for days and days on. Yes. And so every living entity is miserable actually in this world. And we should understand this. We should rise above this false representation of Maya. Maya is compared to a soft grass over the blind well. Looks so nice. I will sit so comfortably on this nice soft grass, and then you fell down into deep dark well, and yet you cannot get out of it. Yes. So King Puranjana is in very same position as we explain now, and here Prabhupada is warning us: if we absorb our consciousness in any way other than devotional service, pure devotional service, not mixed devotional service, in what kind of activities he says here, in social, political, pseudo-religious, national or communal consciousness, is cause for bondage. And since you all are engaged in some project, and this great project here actually, you should be also very careful not to be carried away by this communal consciousness. Because we are Krishna consciousness movement, every devotee should be careful not to be carried away by this communal consciousness. I'm ISKCON devotee, or I'm Hare Krishna, I'm this, I'm that. Yes, these are all upadis, different designations, bodily understanding of existence. We shouldn't identify with these things. The only thing that we should identify with is being a servant in every situation, because this is our natural position, to be a servant. Whatever we do is service. Either we know it or not, but we should do conscious service, because consciousness is what it counts. Yes, consciousness is the most important. And Prabhupada says here about the consciousness in this purport, how consciousness is important, not our identification. Yes, I'm a devotee, I'm this, I'm that, I'm mother, I'm father, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm temple president, I'm temple cook, I'm this, I'm that, or this is my service. Don't mingle in this service, because this is my service. Or anything like this. I'm sure you know what I'm speaking about, because it's very common and it's natural. Actually, in this world it's very natural to identify with some external situation, social situation, any situation we identify with, and because we don't know any other way of living, or we don't like any other way of living, we hold on this social position that we have, or we struggle for some better social position that we would like to achieve. But this is all illusion, actually, from the beginning to the end. We should know, yes, I'm Krishna devotee, but not in this social sense. this external sense. I'm devotee of Krishna in his eternal abode. I should live in his eternal abode now. Yam yam vapismaram bhavan tyajantya anti kalivaram tantam aveti kantaya sadatat bhava bhavita. Whatever state of consciousness one has at the time of death, he will attain this without doubt. Yeah, and here Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavad-gita, 15th chapter. Shriram yata vapnoti yachapyut karmatishvara grihit vaitani samyati vayor gantan bhashayat. That like air is passing over different things, so he carries, our consciousness also carries our life, our soul, to different destinations. Acquires the quality of, this is very interesting, acquires a quality of what is passing over. Like the air is passing over roses and carries the aroma of roses. Here is example Prabhupada gives. And if passes over filthy things, carries obnoxious stench of these filthy things. So our consciousness should pass over transcendental things. So we should concentrate on Krishna in our everyday life, actually. So this is not something mechanical. So I am chanting Hare Krishna, but I'm thinking what I have to cook for my children, or what are my obligations in a job, or here at the farm, what I have to do, what I have to sow in the land, what I have to, how I have to carry for the cows. Yes, this cow gave birth now, how I will carry for the bull. Yes, of course, we should consider all these things, but in relationship with Krishna, but not just some abstract Krishna, but this Krishna here, our Krishna. So we should consider, Krishna, this is your bull. I'm taking care for your pleasure because you're a cowherd boy. So you're busy with your pastimes with gopis, and I'm caring for your bull, for example. So our focus should be on Krishna. This is my point. Whatever we do, or if we cook, we can meditate how we are assistant of Srimati Radharani by in her cooking to Krishna. Yes, because we cook for Krishna. We should have this mentality. We don't cook for my family, or we don't cook for... Of course, my family will be participants in Krishna's prasad, and this is glorious. But we cook for Krishna and his associates. And we clean for Krishna and his associates. And we go to job for Krishna and his associates. Yes. And we should look upon our family members as Krishna's associates also. And us as a servant. Yes. So I'm a servant, even if I'm a father, or a mother, or a guru. Yes. I'm always a servant. This is my position. I'm put in a certain social role, not to be mother or father or a guru or a son or a daughter or a sister or a brother, but to serve Krishna in this social position. Yes. So we should understand this. This is very much important. And we should be attached only to service, not to the position. So if I'm removed from my position, removed from the position of temple president, removed from position of temple cook, removed from position of the one who cleans the toilet, no problem. I cannot do anything but service. So I will engage in some other service that is allotted to me. Yes. So and no service is allotted to me. I will engage according to my intelligence, to the best of my intelligence in some service that I believe that is beneficial for Krishna and his devotees. So it's very much important that we always carry in mind that we are not from this world. Although we live in this world, we are not from this world. So we should meditate on Krishna in every situation. Even if something is very demanding task that we have to concentrate very much, before we do this and during in intervals we can remember, we can that I'm doing this for Krishna. Yes, it's for Krishna's pleasure. So this should be our constant meditation. And of course, most concentrated should be during our chanting. Therefore, this chanting is so important. And it's actually the only spiritual vow we give at the time of initiation. Because these 4 regulative principles are not something spiritual. This is a vow not to live sinful life, actually. It's about something that we will not do. It's nothing spiritual. So it's material, and we vow that we will not do. Yes. So our only spiritual vow is to chant at least 16 rounds without offense. So we should take it extremely serious. Yes, extremely seriously. So this is the only hope that we can have to train our consciousness, that we can remember also during the day that we are Krishna's servants. Because if we cannot get absorbed during our chanting that we are Krishna's servants, how can we become absorbed in meditation during the day? It's ludicrous to think that we can become absorbed if we can't get absorbed during our chanting, or at least trying to get absorbed during our chanting. So our chanting should be completely dedicated for Krishna's pleasure. Yes. And we should meditate how everything is meant for Krishna's pleasure also. Actually, everything that exists only for Krishna's pleasure. Yes. Krishna is emanating in so many different varieties of things just for his own pleasure. You should understand this. This may be hard to understand in this material world, but just because of avidya or ignorance. But actually, everything is meant for Krishna's pleasure. Even if we do things against spiritual principles, it's still in Krishna's pleasure, because Krishna is absolute. So if we try to satisfy the senses, Krishna is also our senses. So we satisfy Krishna, but in the wrong way. Ye pyanya divata bhakta yachanti shraddhayanvita tipamam eva konte yajanta viti purvakam. It is explained in 9th chapter of Bhagavad-gita that if we have other gods, and of course our God is anything that we give our attention to, actually. If we give our attention to some football game, this is our God, actually. Or we glorify some politician, or some sport person, or some singer, or I don't know what. If we appreciate anything separate from Krishna, it's actually in some way or another our God. We should know this. And we can see teenagers put so many different pictures on their walls, usually. These are their gods. Idols. They say idols. They're deities. Yes. And they have different deities. And Krishna explains that all these who worship these different deities are worshipping only me, but in the wrong way. And therefore, because their consciousness is absorbed in some insignificant particle of Krishna, therefore they cannot attain the absolute Krishna. They attain this insignificant particle of Krishna. Yes. Yanti deva vrata devam pitrin yanti pitrivritaha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhya jinopimam. He explains that those who worship demigods, they will go to demigods. Those who worship some ghosts will go to these ghosts. Those who worship demons, they will go to demons. It's as simple as that. And if we worship our wife or a husband, we'll become a woman or a man in the next life. And we'll just continue our material existence, struggle for existence, as Prabhupada here says. Yes. King Puranjana now passes the heir of his life over the wife, a woman. Therefore, he has to accept the body of a woman in his next life. Yes. And we spoil our life. Either we become a man or a woman, doesn't matter, we spoil our life. Or if we become whatever, a demigod, we also spoil our life. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino juna. Mamupitya tu kante punarjanmana medite. Even if we attain to Brahma Loka or Patal Loka or any place, we just spoil our life. So the point is, we should become a devotee. Devotee in our heart, not devotee by rubber stamp. That we rubber stamp ourselves as a devotee. Yes, I'm a devotee. I wear tilak and kantimala and a dhoti or a sari. And of course I'm a devotee. And specifically ISKCON devotee, or this devotee, that devotee. Against ISKCON devotee. There are also such devotees who identify as something against something. It's of course craziness again. So we should identify as Krishna's servants. Krishna's servants. Actually, as Radha Krishna's servants. Srila Prabhupada mentions this in Krishna book, 70th chapter of Krishna's book, when he explains that Krishna's daily activities. or no, this is 69, ninth chapter. But in the next chapter, in 70th chapter, he explains how Krishna was meditating on himself in the morning, every morning, in Dwaraka. And Prabhupada explains that, of course, Krishna meditated on himself because it's nothing, no better object of meditation than himself. But we should meditate, he said, and it's very interesting because it's Krishna is a description of Krishna from Dwaraka, and Krishna was meditating on himself, but Prabhupada says that we should meditate on Radha Krishna from Vrindavan. Yes, so this should be our focus, meditation on Radha Krishna. Yes, and we cannot meditate on Radha Krishna if we don't know anything about Radha Krishna. So we should get absorbed in Radha Krishna, in their pastimes also, but not cheaply. This is the topic that we discuss very cautiously, but we should discuss this, because otherwise devotees would think that this is wrong to desire, or they would think that they have to go somewhere to some other place that they will get this information, for example. So we should meditate on Radha Krishna, as instructed by Srila Prabhupada himself, and we should get the information from our books. Even Prabhupada's books, they are full of description of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. For example, Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of most intimate description of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. But of course, Prabhupada gave us the step-by-step process of attaining this absorption in Radha Krishna's pastimes. He said that first we should study Bhagavad Gita very thoroughly. Yes. And then we should study Srimad Bhagavatam very thoroughly, where also Krishna's pastimes with the gopis are described. But first we should understand very thoroughly first 9 cantos. Otherwise, we will take this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as some material affair of some attractive young boy with attractive young girls. And he's very expert young boy because he plays with many different girls. Yes. And this will completely miss the point. So we should understand this story of Puranjana, that we'll understand that this is not material affair. We should not meditate on some girl or some boy that our conditioned senses like. Yes, because in this material plane, this is natural attraction between boys and girls, isn't it? I believe everyone has this experience. Yes. So we should understand properly from these stories of King Puranjana and other stories from 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we will properly understand the 10th canto and go and be absorbed also in philosophy of 11th canto and 12th canto, of course. And then we can become properly absorbed in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, because then Prabhupada said after the thorough study of Srimad Bhagavatam, we should also deeply study Chaitanya Charitamrita. and nectar of devotion, and nectar of instruction. And nectar of instruction is teaching us that the essence of all advice, Tan Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya, Tan Krishna, Tan Nama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityoh Kramena Rasanama Nasini Ojya Tishtan Vrajeta Tanurage Jananu Game Kalam Nayeta Kalam Itupadesha Saram. Upadesha Saram, Rupa Goswami says, it's Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu, to always glorify Lord's name, His form, His pastimes, and get deeply absorbed in them. Yes, to get absorbed in these pastimes and names and everything. Deeply. Manasi niyojya. Manasa is the mind, and niyojya means to absorb in something. And Tishtan Vraje Tatanuragi Jananugami. We should live in Vraja, he says. And it is explained in other places, if we are not able physically to live in Vraj, in Vrindavan, we should mentally, in our consciousness, in our heart, live in Vrindavan. So this goes along with this idea that we should always meditate how we are serving Krishna, but not just some abstract Krishna, but Krishna from Vrindavan, that he's here on the altar in his picture, and there also with Srimati Radharani, and in Chaitanya Lila also. So we should we are now actually with our physical bodies, we are part of Chaitanya Lila. We should understand this. Chaitanya Lila was happening just 500 years ago, a little more than 500 years ago, and still going on actually. The purpose of Chaitanya Lila, of appearance of Lord Chaitanya, was to spread the holy name all over the world, and to give this love of God to everyone. And we are his servants of Gaura Nityananda, in this mission. Actually, therefore, Srila Prabhupada, who is their representative, gave us this mission. Preaching is the essence, he says. Yes, preaching is the essence. So this is our life. The essence means life, isn't it? Essence means life. But what we can preach if we don't have anything? So we have to acquire something to give something, isn't it? So we should go deep in our chanting, because one verse before this, that we should live in Vrindavan and follow the residents of Vrindavan, eternally liberated residents of Vrindavan. Yes, and he says that this is the essence of all advice, of all instruction. Upadesha saram. Saram is the essence. Upadesha means instruction. So this is the essence of all instruction. To live in Vrindavan all the time in our heart, and follow the gopis. This is the essence of all instruction. But as long as we don't have the taste for the holy name, to get absorbed in the holy name, and as long as we don't really chant properly, we should get first cured of our jaundice of avidya, as it is explained by Rupa Goswami in 7th verse of his Upadeshamrita. Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pitopa Tapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kintvadarat anudinam kaila sevarjusa svatvikramat bhavati tatgadamula hantrim. By regularly chanting these holy names, this disease of jaundice, of avidya, will be uprooted. So we should regularly chant without offense. We should go to the solitary place, switch off our phones, and just chant. Yes, because if we don't chant with such absorption, or if we at least try to absorb ourselves, it's not possible to uproot the disease of avidya from our heart. And as long as we don't uproot this avidya from our heart, it's not possible to live in Vrindavan. Because it is mentioned that if there is a prostitute of lust and greed in our heart, it's too filthy place for a goddess of bhakti to sit there. Goddess of bhakti doesn't associate with prostitutes. So, as long as there are these prostitutes in our heart, how can we invite Bhakti Devi? So, yes, we should send these prostitutes away from our heart. Yes, chase them away by properly chanting. Because if we don't properly chant, if we just chant to finish our rounds, these prostitutes will not go out. We'll live very happily there. Yes. So chant with the utmost concentration that you can have. No speaking during chanting. No doing other things during chanting. Not even your service, other service. Just focus on your chanting. Yes. In this prayerful mood, because Prabhupada explains in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that the quality of our chanting depends on the quality of our feeling. So we should not mechanically chant and just trying to not think of other things and not speaking to other people and trying not to scroll our phones, but we should chant in this prayerful mood. Krishna, please help me. Krishna and Radha, please engage me in your service. I have no other hope than both of you. And of course, my spiritual master. I pray to my spiritual master before chanting. And I pray to Panchatattva, to Lord Chaitanya before chanting. And then I'm praying to Radha and Krishna, please engage me in your service. Yes, please engage me in your service. This is so simple instruction from Srila Prabhupada. But it's applicable from every stage of our spiritual development. We can maybe just today came to to Hare Krishna movement, and we can already apply this meditation. Please engage me in your service. And even if we are most advanced spiritualist, living in some cave in the bottom of Radhakunda, we can still apply this same kind of meditation. Oh Srimati Radharani, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. Yes. Still the same kind of meditation. So this Prabhupada was genius in putting some high things in extremely simple language and in short statements, like chant and be happy. But we take it very cheaply because it's so common, but it's so profound. Chant and be happy. Yes. Or preaching is the essence. These are all statements that can fit on your T-shirt, but are most profound. Yes. And actually, I've heard somewhere that that the greatest marketing is to create such slogans that fit on the T-shirt. And Prabhupada made many such slogans that fit on the T-shirt. Chant and be happy. Preaching is the essence. Books are the basis. Purity is the force. So many T-shirt slogans. Yes, just to help us to go deep in our spiritual life. So don't miss. Prabhupada said that it's so simple that you can miss it. Don't miss it. Go deep. Go deep. And then in your next life, you'll not be a woman, you'll not be a man, you'll be just Krishna's servant. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment or doubt? Yes.
Máme, třeba když máme nějakou službu v sociálním tom systému, jsme matka, otec, nebo tak se s tím musíme jako nějakým způsobem stotožnit, jinak to nemůžeme jako vykonávat, nebo jak se s tím nestotožňovat a zároveň dělat svědomitě. Když třeba řídím auto, tak se musím do nějaký míry stotožnit, že jsem řidič. Nebo tak je to teda jako spojit o nestotožnění se a zároveň tu svou službu.
When we have some social position, mother, father, or when we are driving car, to make the service properly, we have to identify ourselves with the service to some extent. So how to identify ourselves to do it properly and not identify ourselves to not lose the consciousness?
Yes, thank you for this question. It's very important. Of course, if we are put in some social position, we are put for some purpose. Krishna has put us in such a position. And we should not take it cheaply, our social role. So we should perform our duties according to our social role extremely diligently and properly. Atah pumbirvidvijashashtra varnashrama vibhagasha svanushthitasya dharmasya sansadir haritoshanam. It is explained in 2nd chapter of 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that every social duty that we have to perform should be meant for Krishna's pleasure, haritoshanam. Therefore, as a mother or a father or a husband or a wife, we should carry out these duties that come along with this role for Krishna's pleasure only. And Krishna's pleasure is explained. Guru nasasvat syajano nasasyat pita nasasyat janini nasasyat devam natasyan napatisya sasyan namote etsyak sumapetimityum. It is explained in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that one shouldn't become a guru, a father, or a mother, or a husband, or a worshipful deity even, or a relative. We shouldn't become a relative or a friend if we are not able to deliver those who are dependent on us from the clutches of death. So our most important duty is to help our dependents to become Krishna conscious. So if you are a father or a mother or a husband, your duty is to help everyone to become Krishna conscious. But if we are not Krishna conscious ourselves, how we can help others to be Krishna conscious? So we should become Krishna conscious ourselves first and be proper example, because only the proper example is the best way of teaching others. To be most strict with ourselves. But we should all, and if we are Krishna conscious, then we don't overly identify with this role. If we are not Krishna conscious, then we cling to these social roles, because this is the only thing that we have in this world. So we should become deeply Krishna conscious. Then we will not overly identify with these roles. Because Krishna consciousness means sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. This means sarvopadi vinirmuktam, to be free from all these upadis, these different designations. I'm this, I'm that. But I take this very seriously, my role as a father or a mother or a husband or a driver, as you said. If I'm driving, I should be a very careful driver, because I'm responsible for many people in my life. So, and of course, we should chant the holy name all the time, if possible. Kirtaniya sadahari. And thus we will be reminded that we are Krishna's servants in every situation. Yes. So our first duty as a father, for example, is to teach our children to be Krishna conscious. And therefore I should meditate every day how I should be proper example for the whole family. So I should be the first one to get up in the morning. I should be example in proper chanting. I have to be the one, I'm the one who is responsible that the whole family is following Krishna conscious program, Mangalarati, Gaura Arati, classes, hearing Krishna's philosophy. This is very much important. Hearing Krishna's philosophy for children is most important. Usually, many parents in Krishna consciousness movement, they don't take this very seriously, that children must know philosophy very well. But then the time will come, if they don't know philosophy very well, the time will come that they will think that this is just religion of my parents. And nothing worse can happen. Because they should understand this is not a religion. This is the eternal nature of every soul. To be connected with the absolute source of all pleasure. And that we all want to be happy, and this illusory happiness of the material world will just kill you. And nothing else. They should understand this very thoroughly. And little children can understand this perfectly. They're not foolish or ignorant. They're ignorant as long as they are not taught. But can be easily taught, and they can easily understand. So it's our duty as a father, especially as a father, to teach our children Krishna conscious philosophy. And also mothers. should teach children philosophy and give them example of proper devotees, that we chant with utmost absorption. No talking is allowed during our chanting. If a child comes to me and wants to play, you can play yourself now, we'll play later. This is my time for chanting. And we can, of course, take the child in our lap when he's small, under 5 years, and teach him how to chant. We chant him in his ear, Hare Krishna. Now we'll chant. Now it's time for chanting. And we'll chant in his ear, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And a child very much enjoys, and he listens, even if he doesn't pronounce Mahamantra, enjoys the experience. And when the mothers are breastfeeding their children, they should definitely chant. Then the children will drink Mahamantra with their mother's milk. And there is no higher blessing than this. It's because whatever children are drinking with their mother's milk, that stucks in their heart for the whole life. So therefore mothers are the first gurus of society. And therefore it's so important that mothers are chaste, faithful to their husbands, because if children will get the opposite impression in their childhood, their whole life will be spoiled. Therefore, Arjuna is warning Krishna in the first chapter of Bhagavad-gita that the whole society will collapse if women get spoiled. And women will get spoiled if all protectors will be killed. Yes. So yes, we should be very strict in our spiritual life. And then we will not overly identify with our social roles, but we will take them very seriously for Krishna's service. Hare Krishna. You wanted to ask something?
I wanted to ask about Radha Krishna, and if it is, if they are like for everyone. Like for example, like in recent time, I just got more attached to Lord Chaitanya, and when I like chant or something, I'm meditating about Lord Chaitanya and not Radha Krishna, and it is like I don't know, is the Radha Krishna is the highest, and I will get there maybe in some time, or is it okay to choose some other like a form of Krishna? I don't know, Lord Nrsimhadev, or for example, Lakshmi Devi also, she didn't want to enter the Vrindavan, so like give up all this Vaikuntha luxury or something. So
Yes, very interesting question. Actually, Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna himself. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahyanya. There's no difference between Lord Chaitanya and Radha and Krishna. But Lord Chaitanya is teaching us, absorb in the service of Radha and Krishna. Yes. And his whole life was absorption in Radha and Krishna. Yes. He became mad for Radha and Krishna. Running, when he saw a sand hill in Jagannath Puri, he mistake it for Govardhan. And he was running like crazy towards there, and all devotees were running behind him, but they couldn't catch him. Yes, he was so absorbed in Radha Krishna Lila. And once one Devi Dasi was singing from Gita Govinda about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya became so absorbed in this singing that he went running towards the source of this singing. He wanted to embrace this person who was singing such nice song about Radha and Krishna. And Govinda, the servant of Lord Chaitanya, was running behind him, and Lord Chaitanya was running through thorny bushes. He was completely cut by thorns. And then Govinda, with his last strength, he caught the Lord. And he said, "It's woman that is singing." And then Lord Chaitanya returned to his external consciousness, and he said, "You saved my life." If I would embrace this Devidasi, I would certainly die. So yes, he was so absorbed in Radha and Krishna. So we should know, Lord Chaitanya his life is meant to teaching us to get absorbed in Radha and Krishna. But of course, he's Krishna himself who came in the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. So, and it's also explained that we can dive, you know what is diving? You can dive in the Leela of Lord Chaitanya, and you will get up in the Leela of Radha and Krishna. Get out of this Chaitanya Prema in abode of Vrindavan. Because his consciousness is always in Vrindavan. So we'll dive into his consciousness, we'll definitely end up in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. I have a question about Vairagya. Yesterday you mentioned two examples which about Brahman Sudama and about
Raghunath Das Goswami. Yes.
Which like a perfect example of true Vairagya. And in that time I was thinking about about Pundarika Vidyanidhi, who was also
Yes.
on a very high level, spiritual level, but in the same time his external and appearance, like external life and appearance, absolutely was different from Raghunath Das.
Yes.
And my question is, how can we understand during our spiritual life, I'm moving on the right direction or not? Just to the end, don't be like that Brahman who meditate under the water many years, like made so powerful alteric things and be touched by a fish.
Yes. Like Saubhari Muni. Yes, very good question. Thank you. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is very peculiar example. And when he came to Navadvip, I think it was Govinda who knew him from before, and he took Gadadhar Pandit to visit Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And Gadadhar Pandit, who is Radharani herself, was completely detached from this world from the beginning of his life. So he was extremely simple devotee, very simple living. And then he came to Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who was living in great wealth. And his hair was anointed with fragrant oil, and there was gold all around, and mirrors and golden spittoons and so on. And for Gadadhar Pandit, he seemed to be, this Pundarik Vidyanidhi, his great sense enjoyer. And he was surprised, how could Mukunda bring me to this Vishai, or sense enjoyer, because he knows that we are devotees, we don't follow sense enjoyment. And although he didn't say anything, Mukunda could understand his heart. And then he began to sing one verse from third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Aho bhakiyam stana kalakutam jigam saipaya tapya sadvi debagatin datri uchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum sharanam brajema. About how merciful is Krishna, that although this witch, Putana, came to kill him, she smeared her breasts with most deadly poison. But although she wanted to kill Krishna, Krishna put her in a position of his mother in the spiritual world. So where can I find such more merciful person than Krishna? The verse says. And when Mukunda, with his very angelic voice, was singing this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Pundarik Vidyanidhi lost his external consciousness. And he became mad, literally mad. And he was starting to destroy everything in his house. He was throwing things around, smashing these mirrors. And he became frenzied with ecstasy because of this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. He was rolling on the ground, saliva came out of his mouth, and he was so violently shaking that not even 10 people could hold him still in such an ecstasy. And then he fell unconscious for 7 hours or something like this. And then Gadadhar Pandit understood that this is extremely great devotee, and I committed grave offense of criticizing him in my mind. So the only solution to rectify for my offense is to accept this Pundarik Vidyanidhi as my spiritual master. And when Pundarik Vidyanidhi came out of his ecstasy, Mukunda said to him that this young person would like to accept you as his spiritual master. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very happy to hear this. And he said, where can I get more qualified disciple than you? Gadadhar Pandit. So yes, this was his externals. And yesterday we mentioned this. We can be very rich, as Sudama Vipra was very rich at the end, but still he was extremely detached from his wealth. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi also exhibited this detachment from his wealth. He didn't care for his wealth. He used everything for Krishna's service. So either we are extremely wealthy or extremely poor. Doesn't matter. Krishna is not attached to our wealth, and he's not attached to us being poor either. So our attachment should be for service, not to have things. If we have this idea, I have to have things for Krishna, our consciousness is not pure, actually. Because we don't need anything for Krishna. We can, of course, use anything for Krishna's service. And we should use. If we have great wealth, we should use every penny of it for Krishna's service. Yes. And no, it's nothing wrong if we have great wealth. It's very good. Then we can serve in greater capacity. But either we are Hanuman or a little spider. In both ways, we should serve Krishna with utmost of our energy and facilities. Is this answering your question? Okay. Hare Krishna. Is there any other question, or we should end? Okay.
Ten verš mluví o tom, že to vědomí v okamžiku smrti nás přenese do dalšího těla a zároveň máme nějakou karmu, kterou máme dostat do těla. Tak jak se tyhle ty dva principy jako spojí, když si to o tom karmě nebo o tom vědomí?
The verse is speaking that our consciousness will deliver us to another body, yet in the same time we have some karma, which we are carrying also. So how it's connected that we have some karma and our consciousness, things that we think about at the moment of death.
Yes. Devotees of Krishna are free from karma. This is not very much well known, but many times we can hear that they have Krishna karma. But this is no karma. When one identifies as Krishna's service and servant and engages in Krishna's service, then this is actually whatever we experience in our life after this, it's Krishna's mercy. Because karma doesn't have a power to turn our consciousness to Krishna. But Krishna's mercy does have this power. So if some reversals come in our life, if we are devotees, we'll take shelter of Krishna. This is not the power of karma, this is power of Krishna's mercy. And if something is very nice in our life, if we are devotees, we'll also take shelter of Krishna. So devotee is actually under Krishna's protection. Therefore Krishna says, declare it boldly, O Arjuna, my devotee will never perish. So therefore at the time of death, if we are devotees and we show Krishna our dedication and love throughout our life, then our consciousness will naturally dwell on Krishna at the time of death. Cannot be otherwise. Our consciousness will be there where our attachment is. Therefore it's very much important to get attached to Krishna. If we are attached to our family members, because time of death is not a pleasant experience. The time of death, our living function is stopped working. Our lungs are falling apart. Our kidneys are falling apart. Our liver is falling apart. Our digestive system is falling apart. We cannot breathe. We cannot see. We cannot hear properly. We have usually many times these dying persons have very dry mouth and they cannot even drink a drop of water. So it's extremely extreme position, extremely unpleasant position. And even if we step on a thorn, when we are completely healthy, all our consciousness goes to this thorn. Imagine that you are chanting and some thorn is pricking you in your foot. You'll be completely disturbed. Your consciousness will be disturbed by this pain in your foot. Therefore, you have to take this thorn out. But death is much worse experience than thorn in your foot. So if you are not absorbed in Krishna during our normal lifetime, we cannot be absorbed in Krishna at that reverse time of great reversal. But we will be naturally focused on things that we are attached to during our life. So if we are attached to our family members, we will definitely we are searching for family members. Where are you? That they will be around us at this time. If we are attached to our wealth, we will try to hire the best physician to cure us at the time. And we'll say, I have enough money, I can pay you. But no money can buy you from the hands of death. And if we are attached to other things, we'll definitely suffer and meditate on these things. How this thing will go on when I'll die, like King Puranjana hear things. But if we are devotees, we'll naturally think of Krishna. If we are absorbed in Krishna now. Therefore, our acharyas are stressing this point that we should go deep in our spiritual life. It's not something mechanical. It's not something superficial. Yes. So, we will not be influenced by our karma. We will be influenced by our desires. And if our desires will be with Krishna, even if we will be not able to think of Krishna, Krishna will think of us and make us remember Him. Sarvasya chaham hridin sannivishto matak smritir jnanam apokhanam cha. From me comes remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. So even if we are unconscious, still Krishna can make us remember Him. Yes. So if we will try to remember Krishna properly during our life, Krishna will definitely make us remember Him at the time of death. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.